Welcome to another episode of Fuck Your Job. I'm Ron Worley.
And I'm Josh Fullenweider.
Fuck your job.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is another episode on the Jobless Legion. We're going to call it F Your Job today. We are sitting here with Ron Worley and my cousin Michael Reilly. Michael's joining us from California. Michael's got a great story about how he got into graphic design and doing it freelance here. So he and I just connected again after probably not talking for about 15 years just because we went our separate ways. But we just connected about 6 months ago and started talking some more. So real quick, I want to point out I'm wearing a nice blue shirt today here. My wife and her colleagues are doing a suicide awareness day today. A lot of people are holed up. Some people are struggling with depression more than normal, given the fact that COVID-19 has them holed up in their homes. So anyway, if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out to somebody. I'd be happy to talk to anybody, if you're struggling with that sort of thing. Also, if somebody reaches out to you, make sure, please take the time to talk and listen to them, because you never know where that could go.
Hey, Josh, we have somebody that we actually partner with that we can send them to, and we'll put that link on with this here later.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. That'd be great. One thing to know is, was looking this up earlier, Forbes says that entrepreneurs are 2 times more likely to suffer from depression and 3 times more likely to struggle with addiction. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast,
No shit.
You're building something, you kind of tie your identity to it, and especially in a day like today when everybody's kind of losing their shirt, it's really easy to have dark thoughts. So anyway.
I think if you're having dark thoughts, what you just told me is that we should go out and do a bunch of drugs.
No, that's probably not the best way to do it. So, hey, anyway, that's my plug. We'll get into the interview now. Michael, how are you doing today?
Good. The kids are at home full time now, so that's fun.
Yeah, doing your work around juggling the kids, and your wife works nights, right?
Yeah. So she's asleep during the day, and I'm basically a at-home homeschooling teacher, designer.
Okay.
Crazy person. So yeah.
So when did you? I guess 2 questions here. First, when did you get into graphic design, and the other, when did you start doing it kind of freelance on your own?
So I got into graphic design when I was a senior in high school. So that was 2005. I took a class in high school that was geared around Photoshop, and just loved it. And I decided I needed to figure out how to do this for the rest of my life. Okay. And after that, I went and worked at a print shop and hated it. And, it was a lot of work, a lot of stress doing that. And then I went to college to get my degree in graphic design. And then after that, I ended up working at another print shop because, it's hard to get jobs. And so that's where I ended up at. And I had a boss there that asked me, he said, you don't really want to work for anybody, do you? And I said, not really. He said, and I asked him what he meant by that. He said, because you're really good at your job, but you don't like taking direction when you don't agree with the direction. And I think that's really tough for a lot of entrepreneurs. So if they're stuck in that kind of situation, they feel like they're being dragged or held back, Yeah. And so my whole goal at that point was I'm going to eventually work for myself and start my own business.
Okay.
But I had student debt. I had, credit card debt. I had all sorts of debt, looking at me in the face. And I'm like, I can't throw that on at the time was my new wife. I can't expect her to take on all that debt on her own. I have to pay for it. So, I continued working. I ended up going and working for a real estate company and then later for a mortgage company in their marketing departments. And then here last September, I fell off a ladder and broke my arm.
Geez. I saw the pictures. I guess I didn't realize you fell off a ladder.
Yeah. So I fell off a ladder, broke my arm, and I was out of work for a few months because obviously, I can't really use my arm and on the computer.
So
and
your dominant hand then, I take
it was my non-dominant hand, but in graphic design you use a lot of shortcut keys and stuff like that on the keyboard. And it was at the point that I couldn't even hold my wrists out straight to use the keyboard. So I was out for a few months and at home and collecting or on disability leave. And Ashley and I were talking, and we're like, man, we love this. We love having me at home full time. And she was like, when you go back, how long do you have to go back for before you quit? And so that was when I actually got my business license for Deag Designs, and started my own freelance business. Was during that time. I finally got a doctor's note to clear me for work. Called up my employer and said, hey, I'm ready to come back. And they're like, oh, that's great, but you no longer have a job here.
Okay.
And so they laid me off, and it was like, oh, that made it easy. I didn't have to actually quit.
Yeah.
Which was nice because I got unemployment then, which was a great little way to lead into this.
Yeah.
And then I started working really hard trying to get freelance clients, and I got a few right at first, and it was like, I can do this, this is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to a point where I wasn't getting many clients, and I started looking at other avenues to make money.
Okay.
And that's really what led me down to Smoking Something. Was that trying to start that company up
which is not that.
No. It's sorry, it's cheese, smoked cheese.
Okay.
But Smoking Something, I thought it was kind of funny,
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So I started down that route, and I really, it was a passion, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a passion project, and I was like, I can, make some money here. And I started selling it to just friends and family, and I was getting repeat orders. I started going to the hardware store, and guys there were like, hey, you bring any cheese? And started selling it there. So I'm like, I really got to get a business license for this. So I started down that route. And now, after I've exhausted all of that avenue and it's not really going anywhere right now, I redirected back to getting Deag back up on and running, and so that's what's led me to where I am today talking to you.
Yeah. Well, I know you and I had talked about Smoking Something a couple of times. That.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're in California, which a lot of people may not realize is one of the most heavily regulated states there is. So obviously you had a few issues just finding the right department for people to talk to. Can you kind of, real briefly, can you summarize your struggles with that? Because I think
I can try to do it briefly, but I'm long-winded. So especially when you're doing something that no one else is doing, the county, the government, state government, they don't know who to have you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start down those paths, you start getting advice within the agencies to oh, you just have to do this, this, and this, and you're set.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was finding is I would start down those paths and start doing what they advise, and then I would find out later, no, you have to do this, you have to do that, and it led on to months and months and months of struggle and trying to find out the right answer. And then finally I got to the right department, the right people to talk to. And it led to a financial decision that I just could not, invest that much money into it.
Yeah.
They were requiring me to get set up full time with a commissary kitchen, and there's not a whole lot in the area.
Okay.
There's like 5 nearby, and the few that I talked to, they're like, no, we don't actually rent out the space. One of them said, yeah, you can rent it out, but only if you cover our daily charge of $300 a day. And it's like, yeah, no.
No.
And then, I kept going further and further away from my house looking for these kitchens, and finally talked to somebody, and it looked like it could have been a good deal, but it would have required me to like drive 45 minutes there, then work for the entire day there to just, smoke the stuff. And then it would require me to get additional permits for other stupid things. So I was like, this is at a point where I just can't at this time. It was a financial decision, plus it was going against my initial goal, which was to work from home.
Yeah.
I have this office. I would rather use that than drive 45 minutes to an hour away and spend all day away from the kids and family, which, that was the biggest reason for starting my own business, and why we even contemplated having me leave my last job.
Okay.
Was so that I could be home full time. So yeah, I mean, it's a pain, and I granted everyone I talked to in the county and the state, they were great, but they didn't really know who to send me to. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, sometimes we learn more from the struggles than we do from successes. So I think it's great that you went down that path and that you were able to share all that with us. I happen to have right here, if you can see it, the smoking something sticker that you sent me a little while back. So did you design, I mean, you have a background in graphic design. Did you design your own sticker, your own logo?
Actually, I did not.
What was kind of your reasoning going into that?
The reason was, so it's very easy to, as a designer, to get like caught up in all the little details and trying to make something perfect. And I think it's more so to get caught up in it when it's for yourself.
Okay.
And so I was working really hard on trying to make the perfect logo. And so I was, getting stuck with it though, trying to design my own logo for this passion project of mine. And I just wasn't happy with any of it. It wasn't meeting my own criteria. And at the time, I also was trying to do clients work as well. And so I was like, instead of spending all my time on something that's not going to make me money right now, so my client's money could make me money right now, I should hire somebody else that's separate from this project, give them my criteria, and support them as a designer as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I hired somebody for, I think ended up paying only like $20 for the logo.
Okay.
And they did a pretty good job. I think it met my criteria. It was what I was looking for. The color scheme was what I was looking for. And then they provided me the actual logo. I then went to another small company in the area that did the stickers for me.
Okay.
So I gave them the file for the logo, and I said, I want stickers. And they're like, yeah, sure. And they designed the actual sticker for me. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those points that I think you have to decide what's worth spending your time and effort on. And at that time, it was trying to figure out how to get a license for this. Mm-hmm. And then delegate the other stuff out.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. One, you were tied too closely to it to kind of step back and say, hey, this is okay, or this is what I want. Yeah. So having somebody else design it, I think, is great. And then the other is focus on what makes you money, not necessarily, not necessarily the fun stuff that you'd like to do, but it wasn't helping you make money at the time. So I guess that's
Exactly.
a great point right there. So
You know what they say? You always, entrepreneur will start a business because they love doing something. But once they open the business, they have to hire other people to do the stuff they loved.
Yeah.
You never get to do it again. You're always doing the crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with the graphic design, you said you had some initial clients and you're kind of ramping it back up. How are you going about finding clients right now? And have you seen any changes with what's happened with COVID-19, anything like that?
So because of COVID-19, a lot of my repeat clients have not come back because they can't, they don't have either the resources, they're not devoting the time, their money to to spending money on design, marketing, or anything like that. So I'm looking at other ways to utilize my design skills and create things that I can then sell later.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of what?
Yeah, tell me more about that, because I guess I didn't realize that was even an avenue.
Well, back when I filed for my license, and when you're filing for a license, you get all these categories that you can choose from. And graphic design actually wasn't on there, which is hilarious to me. It was, you could choose all sorts of things, but there was the item I could choose was graphic art / silk screening. And so I've had this silk screening tied onto the end of my business license and didn't really care about it.
Okay.
And so when I started hitting this slump here with lack of clients or lack of work to be doing, I was like, I should take a look at that silk screening side of it. So I invested in a vinyl cutter, and I'm going to start making my own silk screens and making my own signage. Those fun little farmhouse signs that you see in people's homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That way I would have, once we get out of this, this slump, my goal is to have products that I can just sell.
Yeah.
That was one thing that I think I really liked about smoking something, is making a product to sell rather than selling a service.
Okay.
So that's one avenue I'm taking. I'm also refocusing on my own branding, my own side of the business, the non-fun stuff, and then looking at different avenues to where I can sell those services. Etsy is one place you can sell it. Fiverr, which is not a great place to sell it, but it's there.
Yeah. Are you getting regular design clients off of Fiverr, or do you even advertise on there? I know there's
not yet. I'm looking at it. There's other places that is for freelancers that I'm more focused on.
Okay.
A lot of my design clients actually have come just by past connections.
Yeah.
And I've been in the real estate industry and the mortgage industry for the last 6 years, I think. So that I was able to pull over quite a few clients from there. But right now, with everything just so crazy, I haven't gotten a lot of clients from those areas right now. So.
Okay. Yeah. So about a month before everything shut down, I went and took a brief design class, and it was geared towards real estate agents.
Yeah.
And, I'm sitting in the room and I'm like, okay, this is great. It's an interesting program. And it was one of those free programs. And we're going through it. I'm like, okay, you're not really teaching anything other than like how to open the program and what these pictures do and things like that. I'm like, man, and like either these people really know what's going on or already, and they don't need anything more advanced. But I knew that wasn't the case when somebody, raised their hand and said, now, what was the question? How do you open the program again? And they were trying to find it on their desktop, and it was a web application.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, well, that's somebody that could definitely use your services.
Yeah, and I think a lot of real estate agents, especially, they're their own contractors, and they try to keep everything as low cost as possible because then they can get a higher paycheck in the end.
Right.
The nice thing about the agents that realize that they need to hire somebody that knows marketing is I see them tend to do a little better. You know, they have nicer looking photos if they hire a professional photographer versus using their smartphone and just walking around the house. They tend to have better looking flyers or websites for advertising the house rather than the generic template that's provided to them by their brokerage. Okay. But at the same time, it's like they have to balance it. You know, they have to find a marketing company, agency, or a graphic designer, or somebody that can work with them on the costs. You know, it's really tough for them. Okay.
You have any tips you'd be willing to share for those type of people, other than "Hey, hire me" type of thing?
Make sure the toilet seats are down when you're taking pictures of the bathroom.
I like that one.
I mean, when I was working in the real estate marketing side at the real estate company, we would get these photos from agents, and I'd have to somehow make them look good. And almost every time, they would just go through the bathroom and just take a picture of how it was, and the toilet seat would be wide up. And it's like, no, that's not good. Stage it a little bit, you know, clean up the mess a little bit. If you're doing it yourself. One of the tips I always heard, and I don't know if it was true or not, but it was a tip that was always going around, was wet the concrete for the driveway before you take the picture.
Oh yeah?
And they said it made it look like luxurious or shiny or something like that. I don't personally know if that works or not, but that was something the photographers always talked about, like wet the concrete, you know, take it in the shots in the either early morning or late sunset, you know, so you get those nice colors in there as well, you know, make it look as nice as possible.
Okay.
You know, I always thought some great things to have on there was like the actual floor plan. You look at the pictures, and you try to guess on the floor plan, and then you show up and it's nothing like what you thought it was. Mm-hmm. Especially when Ashley and I were looking for a house, we went to several houses that were like, oh my gosh, this is not at all what we were expecting. So, you know, either they must have had really good photographers, because this is a terrible house. So.
Yeah, I've been through a few of those. They've got all these gorgeous pictures from different angles of the same room. You think they're two different rooms. You go to the house.
Yeah, exactly.
2 bedrooms and a kitchen and maybe a half bathroom in it. So.
Yeah, we went to one that they had 2 bathrooms. They advertised having 4 bathrooms, but they had 2 bathrooms. They had a connecting door in between them. And if you left that door open, you could have somebody sitting on one toilet, you could be sitting on the other toilet, and you could wave at each other. So I was like, this is...
Oh,
so, man. But yeah, they did really well in the pictures, though, and the flyer and all that stuff, that when we were looking at it, we were interested.
Yeah.
Then we went there, and we were like, oh, we're not interested anymore. The agents can only do so much, you know?
Yeah. Well, that tells you the power of the photos, hiring a professional photographer and a professional designer to set it all up. So, yeah. Right. Well, we're running down to the end. We're trying to keep everything to about 15, 20 minutes long. So we're running down to the end. Ron, did you have any questions before we?
No, you just answered them all. I love the experience. I appreciate it, Michael.
Well, thank you.
So, all right, Michael. Well, we will sign off here. Say, I guess the big question before we go, and then I've got one smaller question. The big question, are you glad you're no longer working for somebody else?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Would you mind sharing your email address so that if somebody wants to get in contact with you, they can reach out to you?
Yeah. So the email is michael@Tredeag, which is spelled TRI-DEAG designs.com.
Okay. And we'll try to, we'll put that in the notes as we get this published too. All right.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. Have a good day, man.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Join us on Facebook at The Jobless Legion, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like, comment, and share
so that we can get the message out to aspiring entrepreneurs just like you.
Thank you.
Fuck your job.